the doctor, and Bill Clinton is being extremely cautious. Went to his doctor for the throat. Doctor put the stethoscope on Clinton's chest and said, "Inhale." And Bill said, "No way." You know what a dream would be to come true? If all the candidates got laryngitis till November. Wouldn't that be marvelous? Wow. But apparently, along with the laryngitis he has put on, I'm talking about Bill Clinton, put on 30 pounds. Yeah, during this campaign so far. Oh, wow. And he has vowed to take it off. Now, Clinton's idea of sweating to the oldies is answering charges about his personal life from the 60s. That's his idea. Little sweater. Paul Tsongas said today he is staying out of the race. Why not? Why tamper with a winning strategy? This is the second time that Tsongas has quit the race. I mean, if you're going to quit a job, quit. Don't keep hanging around trying to... That didn't sound right all of a sudden, did it? Yeah. Well, you probably heard the news about Yasser Arafat, who had a plane crash. Well, they found out today... They found out the cause of Arafat's crash in the desert. He was apparently flying in a Libyan warplane when the pilot's scarf got tangled in the propeller. That's, I guess you'd call it sad, but this is the worst accident that Arafat's had since he tried to fax a letter bomb. I don't know. Did you see there's a picture in the paper of Arafat in the hospital? Did you see it? He was recovering in a Libyan hospital, and he got a visit from Muammar Gaddafi. Now, how would you like to wake up? Would that cheer you up? Boys, first person you see. Okay, some more political news. You know, they're going after everybody now lately, about the congressmen, about their perks in the White House, about the House bank. Dan Quayle, our vice president, came under criticism today. You may have read about this in the newspaper. They said that the vice president was using military planes for golfing trips. That's the latest. And Quayle says it wasn't a total drain on the taxpayer. He said whenever he uses, for example, a stealth bomber, to take him to play golf, he always paid $3 for the earphones. One trip, according to the paper, cost the taxpayers $11,000. That was listen to this, $10,000 for the plane and $1,000 for those little pilot wings that the captain gave Dan. Anybody here have a cold tonight? Did you read this in the paper? Would you mind leaving, please? Oh, no. Most people go to the drugstore and you buy an over-counter prescription, right? The FDA came out, the Federal Food and Drug Administration came out today, and so most cold remedies. Do we have one we don't have one as a sponsor tonight, do we? Good, okay.
Not anymore.
Most of them, they say, are really useless, most remedies. They say antihistamines work. They're useful against allergies, but they have no effect on the common cold. Did you know that?
Yes.
Antihistamines?
I get a paper once in a while, too.
Good. Now, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, antihistamines are no good for a cold, but they're good for allergies. But I found if you take enough of them, antihistamines, you can sleep until you're well. Have you been following the paper about the robberies up in Las Vegas? Oh, I never thought that. 3 Las Vegas casinos have been robbed in the last 2 weeks. One case, the robbers came in, apparently set off a smoke bomb in the casino or something. Got away with $1 million. But they weren't the brightest guys in the world. Before they could get out the door, they'd lost $750,000 at roulette. Oh, you know who's on the show tonight? I'm very delighted. Mr. Ted Koppel is with us tonight from Nightline. Now, I might point out, you know this or not, but Ted is kind of fighting a character issue of his own. He once admitted that in the 60s, he experimented with moose, but he never blow dried. So, Ted Koppel is here, Mr. Stevie Wonder. And one of the truly fine actors, James Woods, is with us tonight. So stay where you are, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. What a nice crowd. Okay. We have a marvelous lineup tonight. Ted Koppel is out here. He's going to tape his show, I understand, later tonight after he's out here in Los Angeles. And we have, I went blank. Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, yeah.
And
James Woods.
James Woods, thank you. And tomorrow night, I better write these out. The neurons are just falling off, little by little. Tomorrow night, we got a big lineup this coming weekend. Next week, tomorrow night, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He should have changed the name. I mean, you know, who thought he would have been a star named Arnold Schwarzenegger? He's going to be here tomorrow anyway. And some of the people who will show up are Bernadette Peters. Am I rushing?
A little bit,
rushing?
yeah. Take it easy.
That's right. Bernadette Peters, George Foreman, Rodney Dangerfield, Ray Charles, Don Johnson, Tom Selleck, John McEnroe is going to come here. Yes. Yes, now, Mr. Severinsen is going to be performing this Saturday night. And where are you going to be, Doc?
McLean, Virginia.
McLean. Isn't that where the CIA is?
That's right.
You're playing for the CIA?
If they show up, yeah, I'll play for them.
Trouble is, if they do, you'll never know it.
That's right.
He will be with the McLean Orchestra in McLean, Virginia, and on Sunday.
Yes.
What?
Right, yes.
What do you say?
Yes.
With the George Mason University Orchestra in Fairfax, Virginia, which is obviously pretty close to McLean, right?
Right.
Moving along. James Woods is here. He's a marvelous actor. And he co-stars currently with Dolly Parton in Dolly was here last night in a motion picture called Straight Talk, and he's one of the best performers in the world. Would you welcome James Woods?
So Stevie Wonder, Arnold Schwarzenegger and I were all backstage talking and wondering if we should even come out.
Did you ever do that? Just all of a sudden went up and...
Yeah, well, luckily in my end of the business, of course, they get to do another take. You are on the end of the gangplank on the high wire, so...
You're right out here, and if you do it, you do it.
That's it.
But I just drew an absolute blank. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Speaking of people on the show, do you remember I can remember the first... Do you remember the first time you were on the show?
Yes, I can.
I remember you were like kinetic energy.
Yeah, well, it's the first time, and I think every time you come on the show, it's the last 10 seconds behind the curtain are always like a little tough.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, you know, suppose I have like narcolepsy or something. You come out here and like fall asleep in the chair. But that very first time, I was doing the Onion Field, and you were the first guy ever to have me on one of these shows, and so it was like coming out, and it was legendary. And I know you're probably hearing it a lot these days, but after 14 years, I can't tell you how grateful all of us who've had opportunities really are, and how grateful we all are to be here.
Thank you. It's always nice. I'm a little awkward at accepting compliments, and I know
I understand, and I know you're getting a lot of it lately, but it's deserved. But one of the things I was thinking about, and I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and I said, I've always wondered, and nobody really ever asked you. And I asked him a question. I said, and I have to ask you now.
Right.
And he said, ask him this. And and Stephen wondered, I will. Relax already. If you could have been who you are for the entire century, who's the one person that you would have liked to have had on this show?
In the last century?
In the last century, since 1900 on. I mean, if you could have picked anybody.
Thomas Edison.
Really?
Yeah.
See? So that amazes me.
I don't know
about you.
why, but
Somebody asked me, said, well, who would you have? And I said, Sigmund Freud, because I'd be amazed that anybody could look like that and talk about sexuality so much.
No,
But,
you're I don't know. I just I probably would have said, Tom, could I buy a few shares in your company? You know.
you got any hints on
what
like
I'd
future
like to have.
inventions, right?
Well, that's interesting.
Ever the pragmatist.
In a century. That's interesting.
Yeah. So. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, what is the one word that you would use to sum up what you expect for the rest of your life?
I expect.
Yeah. What one word do you like to think of for the rest of your life? It's an odd one. I mean, it could be something as broad as hope or faith, or something as simple as golf.
Rigidity. No. I've never asked anybody that question. It sounds corny, but health, of course.
Health.
What else?
That's right. But there are people, believe it or not, who would say wealth or say something else, you know? I mean, but those are two very solid, good answers. And I think it's one of the reasons you've had the success you've had, because I've noticed, I've watched the show my entire adult life.
Right.
And what I've always been intrigued by is the people that you seem most to respond to, oddly enough, are real people. Like, you know, you got those 105-year-old farmers who come out and so on. And I've always been intrigued by that you like that. Because, you know, for somebody who does respond to real people as much as you do, it's a funny venue to be in, because Hollywood, of course, is the least real place on earth.
So well, we're all play acting. That's interesting. You've been working on those questions, huh?
Actually, well, it's the last chance I want to get to ask him. You know,
okay.
unless Stevie Wonder decides not to come out and I get
No,
another.
he'll be here. We have to interrupt as we often do here, but we'll be right back. Stay where you are. Yeah, really. Freud, huh? Yeah. We are back. Talking with Jimmy Wood. We were talking about your work, and you just finished another picture, but the one before was the one that you started with Dolly Parton.
With the
She
one
was
and
on
only.
last night.
With the one and only.
You find her as genuine as I do? She's been
She's-
on this show for years and years and years, but she seems to be what she is.
She is truly the nicest human being, present company excluded.
No, you're
that
not
I've-
saying
No,
that.
but I mean, she's just remarkably genuine. Bob asked me, he said, you know, had you ever met her before you worked with her? And I said, I met her once at a party where there were 300 people.
Right.
And the way she related to me, it was as if, from that point on, she was one of my best friends. I mean, she takes equal time with everybody on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
She's genuine, she's warm, very sexy, very funny, you know, and I've got to say this because she's been saying it for quite a while. She's one of the greatest kissers on earth, so.
No, I've never asked her about that.
Yeah, she is one of the great kissers of all time.
Really?
I mean, you got to think about what it's like. I mean, I know that we're coming off the tail end of a really tough recession and so on, so maybe it's inappropriate to say this, but I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself, because like a guy calls up and says, you got to make like thousands of dollars a day, and your job description is to kiss Dolly Parton all day.
Yeah.
What do you think? And you go, gee, let me think about it. I don't know. I'll get back to you. You know?
Gee, that's pretty tough.
You know what I
tough
mean?
way to make a living.
She was just the greatest. There was the producer of the show had a son. The kid was like from a Rockwell painting. He was like about 6 years old, real skinny.
Right.
He used to wear this baseball cap, one tooth missing.
Right.
And Dolly, I don't know if you noticed this last night, but has a rather potent figure. Did you? Yeah, you caught that.
Yeah.
So one day she's.
I'm not Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, but think of the advantage she'd have in identifying her. But anyway. Couldn't resist.
Yeah.
But at one point, she was in one of these wonderful outfits that she wears in the movie, and very sophisticated, and it was just spray painted on, basically, and really low cut. And the kid's standing there, and she comes there, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Dolly. Who are you?" And the kid kind of looks at her with his baseball cap on. He looks over at his dad, who's the producer and the rest of the crew, and just goes, "Phew." And that's that boy from the mouths of babes. He did what we all feel the first time, you know, we meet her, really.
Hey, let me give you some names of ladies you've worked with. Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep is one of the funniest people. I mean, she always does these very serious things. And we met when we were doing a miniseries called Holocaust.
Right.
And she has a way of diffusing all these very serious situations with a tremendous sense of humor in the most awful situations. I mean, we were literally standing in the gas chamber at the concentration camp Mauthausen. And, you know, everybody's very depressed working on something like that. And she said, turned to me and she said, "We better be good in this." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because there's going to be a special place for hell for us if we screw this one up, believe me, you know." And she really had a sense of the proportion of what it was that we were dealing with, you know. And I've had...
Barbra Streisand.
First time I worked with Barbara, the only time I worked with Barbara, I was a kid, I was doing The Way We Were. I'd never been introduced to her. And all of a sudden they said, okay, where's the kid? The kid is playing her boyfriend. Get over here. And they stand, and I'm standing next to Barbra Streisand, who even then was an enormous legend. About 10,000 people watching because we're shooting at this college in Schenectady. Nobody introduces us or anything. We're standing there, and she turned to me and she said, you afraid of me? And I said, no, what are you, joking? And she said, what do you mean? I said, hey, once they say action, it's every man for himself, kid, you know? And she said, I like this kid. I like him. Sidney, he's okay. Keep him in the picture. You know, it's one of those, like, moments where you could have, like, end up, you know, shelling peas the rest of your life and said the wrong thing. You know?
Okay, Sean Young.
Sean Young. Actually, all joking aside about Sean, she's a very inventive, very creative. Really glad she's not here tonight. Wonderful girl. You know, she's actually not so bad. Not so bad.
No, what does that mean?
That means that's the last month. What the heck? Just staple gun me to the barn door, why don't you? She's I gotta tell you, basically.
Difficult? Would difficult be the correct word?
No, she's actually not that difficult.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, that whole experience for me. Did you ever see Les Mis?
Yes.
You know, Jean Valjean steals a loaf of bread and spends it. You know,
Right.
I mean, you know, one thing and boom, I spend the rest of my life being crucified.
Yeah.
And I should have gotten stronger Velcro, but.
Well, I can see it doesn't bother you my asking that question.
No, not at all.
We have a little piece of film from
Straight Talk. Yeah.
from Straight Talk.
It's a scene where I'm trying to seduce Dolly.
Okay.
Because
Good.
I know something about her and I'm trying to, like, ruin her life because I'm this terrible newspaper reporter and it's the day I sort of bump into her at this big opening.
Okay, take a look. From Straight Talk.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You tell me my life is cornflakes and cookies and then you just walk away? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Shirley.
You're a doctor, huh? What kind of doctor are you?
I'm a doctor of the heart.
Wait a minute. Wait, Dr. Shirley, you're the radio shrink. Oh, well, I had no idea Janice was getting advice from a pro. Dr. Shirley, wow. So, thanks. So what do I do?
Maybe you should try dating a different kind of woman. Someone more real. Someone whose insides look better than their outsides instead of the other way around.
Someone whose name begins with an S and ends with an E?
If you know someone named Sylvie.
No.
Simone?
I know a guy named Shane.
Great, ask him out.
I'd rather ask you out. Friday night.
It's a date.
It is?
Yeah, good with it. Okay, we'll be back. Here's a word from Miller Lite. Everything you want a beer to be. And she'll return with Stevie Wonder and Ted Koppel.